Please join me in welcoming my friend, Gertler.
Jonathan, thank you for that kind introduction. My grade 4 teacher, Mrs. Parsons, would be very pleased with that introduction, so thank you. And of course, we're here as a testament to you, Jonathan, both as in terms of your commitment to the EdTech community and also, your success as an EdTech entrepreneur. And lastly, I'm pleased to call Jonathan a friend. He's been a friend for many years, and like any good friend, when I said to him I'd like to attend this conference, and he said, good, go ahead and buy a full price ticket or become a media sponsor. So thanks, Jonathan. But US News is pleased to be a media sponsor today. But enough about Jonathan. It is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Michael and Olga Block, who founded their first charter school in 1997 in Tucson, Arizona, where they were living at the time. Under Ms. Block's day-to-day stewardship, Basis Tucson quickly became an exemplary institution in the charter school movement, and in 2003, they founded Basis Scottsdale. The Basis Curriculum Schools Network now include 24 public charter schools and 5 independent schools in Arizona, Texas, Washington, D.C., Virginia, New York City, and Silicon Valley, as well as 2 international schools in China. Dr. Block has also served in the academic sector as a University of Arizona professor of economics and later served as the director of the Office of Economic Education at the school. So without further ado, let me introduce the Blocks.
We thought since we're from Arizona, we'd be informal. Leave the podium. So the topic of our conversation is about scaling excellent schools. And I think the first thing I want to talk about is our excellent school, and Olga will talk about tech and how we use it to scale. So first let me talk about the school we founded in 1997. And it had really 3 objectives. One was that the school would perform at world standards. Now that's become, since then, a kind of trite expression. But for us, it was absolutely necessary that the school produce students whose education would match the education of the Europeans and the Asians, who, if you know something about the ranking system, tend to have the best schools in the world. So our goal was to build in America one of the world's great schools. The characteristics below that were important were for us to have a school that not only taught at world standards, but also was a school that emphasized what's come to be called grit, rather than some measure of how good a person's hardware was. So our emphasis has always been on effort and persistence, and not on how you come to the school. And finally, is that we wanted a school that we could reproduce. And we've done that successfully. So the schools, in terms of, are we excellent? Well, we have, in terms of the US News and World Report, we have number 1, number 2, number 3, number 5, and number 7 among the best high schools in the United States. So I think we're pretty good. That's every one of our high schools that was eligible for ranking. So we have now 14 high schools. Eventually, I hope to have schools 1 through 10 on that ranking. Even more important, given our objective, is that the schools perform at high international standards. So many of you know there's an exam out there that OECD uses to judge how well a country's school system or education system is doing, called PISA, appropriately enough called the Program for International Student Assessment. You can give that test to your schools. We have, and we routinely score higher as a network of schools, basis curriculum schools, than the top scoring countries of the world. So we do have some of the best schools in the world. I think our Scottsdale school, which is now a mature school, is probably in the top 1 or 2% of all schools, math, science, and reading. So we're very proud of this. The elements I think that we've used to get here, to where we are to have a great curriculum and great teachers. Everyone claims to have that. I think our curriculum is unique. We have a curriculum in elementary school that involves a team of teachers, 2 teachers in a classroom. It's written up in some places, and hopefully I won't use more of my time to do the explanation of that, but it's quite unique. And our high school is centered around advanced placement, not as sort of a way to add to the attractiveness of students, but to actually test for fundamental knowledge. So we do have that good curriculum. We recruit across the country for teachers. We have some 14,000 teachers apply every year for 400 or 500 positions. So we're as selective as some of the best institutions on the planet. Okay, those things will make a great school, maybe a couple of great schools. Our ambition is that every one of those schools be a great school teaching at world standards. And we've turned to technology to accomplish that. So Olga will say a few words about how it is we actually use technology to make sure that we can operate at scale. Olga?
So here comes the tech part of our little talk. As Michael said, our major problem when we started more than one school was to figure out how to carry over to all the schools the same quality, the same things that we discovered in different type of schools. For example, very early in our operation, we figured out that in order for our students to be successful in their AP chemistry exam, we need them actually to do something very early. It's not like you would expose them to chemistry in the 10th grade. You actually need to start much earlier. And we discovered that if we actually teach chemistry starting in 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, in the 9th grade we give them what we call honors chemistry, and then they take the chemistry AP, 80% of our students actually pass this test. It's a very simple principle. There is a spiral that goes through all these years, and again, the students are not only very successful in the test, but also they do not study just for the test in the 10th grade. They just learn chemistry, and the teachers have an opportunity not to teach just to the test, but they can do whatever they believe needs to be done. This is a simple little detail that we have in our curriculum, and there is about 100 of little principles like that that needs to be carried to every school. And it sounds pretty simple. You just tell every school that they have to teach the course and what needs to be in the course. But in order to actually enforce this in 35 schools or more than that, you would have to have an army of inspectors. You would have to have an army of administrators that actually assure that this happens. So once we learn that that's what we need to do, we introduce a software that helps us to manage the schools in such a way that we don't need the army of administrators, and it makes this whole operation much cheaper, much more efficient and effective. So we developed something that we call lovingly Bella. The B stands for basis, and the rest of it is unimportant at this point. And this software actually does a very simple thing. It creates a school catalog of all the courses that the school has to teach based on its grade structure and maturity, how old the school is. And then it prescribes the main topics that need to be taught in every course. At this point, we have about 260 courses. Each course has about 5 variants based on the maturity of the school or the other technical attributes. So all these courses are there in the system, and sometimes about January, every school knows exactly what courses needs to be taught next year. Therefore, they need what kind of teachers they need to hire for the system. Now comes the major issue, and that's kind of my belief that the problem with the education technology at this point is not that there is not enough technology. The problem is that the education community is way, way behind the technology, and making our teacher actually using technology, with the exception of some really bright young people, is not trivial. So the trick is to really make the teachers to use the technology in the way that it was designed. And it's easy when it comes into learning process, but when it comes into administrative tools, it's not that easy. You have to give them something that will make them actually to use your tool. So the way we do this is that for every course and each variant of that course, there is a template syllabus. So as soon as the teacher is assigned the course, sometimes in April, they actually can go online and see what are they going to teach next year, and they can download the template of the syllabus that is supposed to be there, or they can download any syllabus that was created based on this template by anybody in the network. And then they can take this syllabus and they can modify it. They can modify it into great extent, but there are certain rules that they have to follow because they are the topics that are sequenced, so we can assure that the 7th grade chemistry rely on what was taught in 6th grade chemistry and prepare the students for the 8th grade chemistry. Nevertheless, the teachers still have an opportunity to modify it the way they want. The only thing is that the system takes account of all the changes, and then the head of the school can actually watch, and if the teacher makes changes, the head of the school can go to the teacher and tell him, why did you make those changes? And if the teacher has a good reason why he's making these changes, we let him do that. And again, because we have this system, we can actually follow all the common topics that are taught in every school. Based on these common topics, we create a common examination that we are giving to the students in the whole system at the middle of the school year. And at the end of the school year, we can actually see the results of the teachers. And if the teacher that modified the template has great results, his syllabus become a template next year. The teachers are very interested in this because they actually have this great pleasure from seeing their syllabus becoming a template. So we are using the system now almost 5 years, so most of the templates that are out there are actually a work of individual teachers. The templates are also overseen by the special teachers that are. Okay, we have also another project, and it's called Spork, and it's a tablet application of this one.
Thank you.